The air hung heavy, thick with the scent of betrayal and shattered dreams. One moment, Mar was a wife, a mother, a woman who believed her life was built on solid ground. The next, she was standing amidst fragments of her favorite crystal vase, each piece a sharp mirror reflecting the wreckage of her marriage. Her husband Kunli and her own sister Yej sprang apart like startled deer, their faces a canvas of raw guilt. My own sister? In my house? Mare's voice was a whisper, a mere tremor against the cacophony of her collapsing world. This wasn't just a moment of accidental discovery. This was the brutal culmination of months, years even, of subtle shifts, unspoken truths, and the unwitting observations of two innocent children. It's a story that unravels the intricate tapestry of trust, the insidious creep of deception, and the extraordinary resilience required to rebuild a life from ashes. Imagine a house once a sanctuary, slowly becoming a stage for a silent, sinister play. 3 months before that shattering evening, the Adisa home, like many, held its secrets in the quiet hours of night. 10-year-old Tundi, ever the protector, led his 6-year-old sister Simi down a moonlit hallway. They called it their midnight adventure game. What a poignant, heartbreaking name for what they were actually witnessing. Children, with their boundless curiosity and innocent perceptions, often see the truths adults strive so desperately to hide. Tunde and Simi, with the uncanny instinct of children navigating a complex household, had mastered the creaks and groans of their home. They knew which floorboards sang a tune, which ones remained silent, allowing them to glide like phantoms to their clandestine vantage point behind the living room curtain. What they saw there was not a game. It was a tableau of intimacy, chillingly out of place. Their father, Kunle, sat too close to Auntie Yej. The television was on, a flickering distraction. But the real drama was unfolding silently between the adults. Auntie Yej whispered, "The children might wake up." Yet she didn't pull away. When Kunle's hand found hers, a quiet, almost imperceptible brush, Simi tugged at Tunde's sleeve, her small voice questioning, "Why is Daddy holding Auntie's hand like that?" Tunde shushed her, his young mind grappling with the cognitive dissonance. Just last week, their mother, Mar, had chided them for watching a romantic movie, declaring, "It's not for children." Yet here was their father, enacting scenes from those very movies, not with their mother, but with Auntie Yej. This is a stark reminder of how deeply children internalize the actions of adults. They are sponges, absorbing not just words, but the emotional currents, the unspoken rules, the hypocrisies. They don't always understand the why, but they certainly observe the what. And often these observations become the seeds of confusion, anxiety, and a profound sense of insecurity that can fester for years. The sudden sweep of headlights across the living room, heralding Mar's return, shattered the illicit calm. Kunle and Yej sprang apart, their clandestine world momentarily exposed. Tunde, with a quick pull, dragged Simi back to the safety of their room, their hearts thumping, not just with the thrill of almost being caught, but with the heavy, bewildering weight of a secret they were too young to comprehend. Later, tucked under their covers, Simi's innocent question, "Can we play like Daddy and Auntie tomorrow?" pierced Tundi's young heart. "I don't think Mommy would like that game," he said, a strange, queasy feeling in his stomach. This is the chilling reality of parental betrayal. It doesn't just impact the adults, it fundamentally distorts a child's understanding of love, loyalty, and safety. It forces them into a world of adult secrets they are ill-equipped to handle, sowing seeds of distrust and confusion that can last a lifetime. Mar's cheerful greetings drifted up from downstairs, a heartbreaking contrast to the dark secret now brewing beneath her roof. Tundi pulled his blanket tighter, grappling with the incomprehensible complexity of grown-ups' games. The house settled into its nightly quiet, but the peace was a fragile veneer, beneath which a shadow was stretching its fingers, preparing to touch every corner of their lives. Fast forward 3 months. The Sunday family lunch, a tradition at their favorite restaurant, felt different to Mar. The aroma of amala and begiri soup, usually comforting, now seemed to carry an undertone of unease. Yej, with a voice sweet as honey, had insisted on riding with Conley, dismissing the children to ride with Mar. A small detail, perhaps, but often it's these seemingly insignificant shifts that betray a deeper rearrangement of dynamics. At the table, Mar observed Yej, how she leaned in when she laughed, how her eyes lingered on Kunle a moment too long, the accidental brush of hands reaching for the water jug. These weren't overt acts of aggression, but subtle, almost imperceptible transgressions that gnaw at a wife's intuition. "Mommy, why is Auntie Yej sitting in your usual place?" Simi's innocent, loud question brought an uncomfortable hush to the table, forcing Mar to feign a smile while questions churned within her. It's a classic tactic of infidelity, the slow, deliberate replacement, testing boundaries, pushing limits. Yej had moved in 3 months prior, claiming to need a place while job hunting in Lagos. Mar, recalling their shared childhood, had welcomed her sister warmly, a gesture of familial love that would soon be twisted into a weapon. Now, watching Yej wipe sauce from Kunle's mouth with her napkin, a coldness settled in Mar's stomach. It wasn't just the physical intimacy, it was the casual possessiveness, the undeniable familiarity that signaled a deep breach. Kunle's comment, "Very tasty. You were right about this place," his eyes meeting Yej's, was another confirmation. Yej beamed. "Better than that other place you and sister used to visit." A subtle jab, a quiet claim of new intimacy. Then came the bombshell, delivered with innocent precision. Tunde, usually quiet, suddenly spoke up. "Daddy, can we play that game tonight? The one you play with Auntie when Mommy's not home?" The world stopped. Yej's fork clattered. The silence was deafening, broken only by the frantic drumming of Mar's heart. Kunle's forced, overly loud laugh, "The children have such wild imaginations," couldn't mask the flash of fear in his eyes, nor the tremor in Yej's hand. This is the moment when denial starts to crumble, when the threads of suspicion begin to weave into an undeniable pattern. Mar would later remember this as the first visible crack in her perfect family portrait. The true gravity of the situation hit Mar when she witnessed her children's game. Standing in the doorway of their playroom, her heart pounded as Simi placed her favorite doll on top of her brother's teddy bear, mimicking adult behaviors no child should know. "Where did you learn this game?" Mar whispered, her voice barely audible. The children froze. Tundi, with the instinct of a child trying to protect a secret, quickly hid his teddy bear. But Simi, too young to grasp the depth of the deception, smiled brightly. "From Daddy and Auntie Yej. They play it in the living room when you work late." The world tilted. Mar steadied herself against the doorframe, a torrent of memories flooding her mind. The restaurant, the lingering touches, the hushed conversations that ceased upon her entry. "Tunde, is this true?" Her son's silence was deafening, an eloquent confirmation. Clutching his teddy bear, tears welled in his eyes. "Please don't be angry, Mommy. We just wanted to play like them." This is the agonizing core of the betrayal. It's not just the infidelity, it's the corruption of innocence, the manipulation of children into complicity. Mar, pulling her children close, felt bile rise in her throat. The sweet scent of their hair, their pure, trusting presence. How dare anyone taint that? "This is not a game for children," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "Promise me you won't play it again." "But Auntie Yej said it's fun," Simi protested. "She tells us stories about her adventures with Daddy when you're not home." Each word was a fresh wound. Mar remembered Yej's eagerness to take over bedtime duties, how she had subtly carved out her own relationship with the children, weaving a narrative that demonized Mar. "What other stories does Auntie tell you?" Mar asked, dreading the answer. Tunda, eyes full of confusion and guilt, finally spoke. She says you work too much. That Daddy needs someone to make him happy. The room, usually filled with childish laughter and bright colors, suddenly felt suffocating. Outside, Yeage's laughter mingled with Kunli's deeper chuckle, a symphony of casual betrayal that echoed through Mar's despair. This is gaslighting at its most insidious, not just the direct lies, but the crafting of an alternative reality where the victim is the problem, the reason for the infidelity. It weaponizes the trust of children, making them unwitting pawns in an adult game of deceit. Mar held her trembling children closer. In that moment, she knew the shadows she had tried to ignore had grown too vast, too dark to dismiss. The truth, however painful, always finds a way to surface. For Mar, it began with a mundane act, dusting Kunli's study. She hadn't planned to clean, but an instinct, a whisper of fate, drew her there. Her hand brushed against the bottom drawer of his desk, a drawer she had never opened in 15 years of marriage. Trust, she had always believed, was the bedrock. Now it felt like a fragile illusion. With trembling fingers, she pulled the drawer open. Amidst bills and documents, something silky caught her eye. A light blue scarf. Mar's heart stopped. She knew this scarf. Just last month, she had complimented Yej on it. Auntie Bose, their neighbor, had even remarked that Sunday, "How comfortable your sister and your husband look together, almost like they've known each other forever." The words, once dismissed, now burned with chilling clarity. Mar held the scarf to her nose. Yej's perfume, sweet and cloying, mingled with Kunle's cologne. A visceral confirmation. "Mommy!" Mar jumped, quickly stuffing the scarf back into the drawer. Tunde stood in the doorway, his school uniform dusty from playing football. "Why are you in Daddy's study?" he asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. "Just cleaning, my love." Mar forced a smile, but Tunde's gaze was fixed on the drawer she had just closed. His face paled. "That's where Daddy keeps Auntie's things," he said quietly. The world seemed to stop spinning. "What things, Tunde?" Mar's voice was barely a breath. Her son shifted uncomfortably. "I saw him put her pictures in there and letters. He told her to be more careful after you almost found them last time." Mar's legs gave way. She sank into Kunle's leather chair, the very chair where they had once sat as newlyweds, dreaming of their future. "Mommy," Tunde's voice quivered. "Are you crying?" She touched her cheek, surprised to find it wet. "No, baby, Mommy just has something in her eye." But they both knew it was a lie, just like everything else in that house had become a lie. Outside, a car door slammed. Kunle and Yej, returning from a business lunch, their laughter drifting up, felt like shards of glass piercing Mar's heart. "Go change your uniform," she told Tunde, wiping her eyes. The time for tears was over. Now was the time for truth. The night air was heavy with unspoken words. Mar stood in the darkened kitchen, listening to the hushed voices from the living room. Kunle and Yej, believing everyone asleep, were discussing their carelessness. "You're being careless, Yej." Kunle's voice drifted. "The children are noticing things." Yej's defiance was palpable. "Am I the one being careless? You're the one who can't keep your hands to yourself when she's around." Mar's hand tightened around her glass of water, the clinking ice cubes an unnervingly loud sound in the quiet house. "Lower your voice," Kunle hissed. "Do you want to wake everyone?" "Too late for that." Mar's voice, steady despite the earthquake in her soul, cut through the darkness. She stepped into the living room, flicking on the lights. Kunle and Yej sprang apart, their guilty faces starkly illuminated. "Sister," Yej began, but Mar raised a hand. "How long?" she asked, her voice dangerously calm. "How long have you been betraying me in my own home?" Kunle stood, straightening his shirt. "Mar, let me explain." "Explain what?" Her voice rose now, carrying the weight of all the hurt. "Explain how you've been sleeping with my sister. Explain how you've corrupted our children's innocence with your careless behavior." The children? Yej's face paled. What about the children? Mar laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. They've been watching you, playing your games. Did you think they wouldn't notice? Did you think they wouldn't learn? From the top of the stairs, a small gasp. Tunde in his pajamas, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, Mommy, he sobbed. I didn't mean to tell about the drawer. This is the ultimate fallout, the collateral damage to the most vulnerable. Tunde, go back to bed, Kunle commanded, but the boy didn't move. No, Mar said firmly. Let him stay. Let him see what his father and aunt have done to this family. Sister, please. Yej stepped forward, reaching for Mar. We never meant... The sound of the slap echoed through the room. Yej stumbled backward, holding her cheek as Mar's wedding ring caught the light. Never meant what? Mar's voice trembled with righteous fury. Never meant to destroy everything I hold dear? Never meant for me to find out? Which is it, sister? Upstairs, Simi's cry joined her brother's. The sound of her children's distress seemed to snap something vital in Mar. Out, she whispered, then louder. Both of you, get out of my house. The storm had finally broken, and nothing would ever be the same again. This wasn't just about infidelity. It was about the desecration of her home, the poisoning of her children's minds, and the profound violation of trust by those closest to her. It was about drawing a line, asserting her worth, and protecting her children, even if it meant tearing her entire world apart. The morning after felt like a battlefield after the war. Broken glass still littered the floor. The children's door remained locked. Kunle, having spent the night at a hotel, returned with shopping bags from expensive boutiques, an obvious attempt to buy absolution. For you, he said, pulling out a gold necklace, and toys for the children. Mar stared at the jewelry, each sparkle mocking her pain. You think you can buy your way out of this? She asked, her voice hoarse from a night of crying. You think some gold can fix what you've done? Mar, please. Kunle stepped closer. Think about the children. Think about our family name. Our family name? She laughed bitterly. The same name you dragged through the mud by sleeping with my sister. This is a common pattern in the aftermath of betrayal. The perpetrator trying to shift blame, appeal to convenience, or minimize the gravity of their actions. But Mar wasn't buying it. Tunde appeared at the top of the stairs, his eyes red and puffy. He hadn't spoken since last night. Tunde, my boy, Kunle called out, come see what Daddy bought for you. But Tunde turned away, disappearing back into his room, the sound of his door locking echoing through the house. Even our son can't look at you, Mar said quietly. Do you understand what you've done to him? To Simi? I can fix this, Kunle insisted, dropping the necklace. We can go for counseling. I'll send Yej away. Send her away, Mar's voice rose. She's already gone. She packed her bags last night while you ran away to your hotel. My own sister, who I fed and housed, who I trusted with my children. Her voice broke, but she had cried enough. The elders will be here this evening, she announced, straightening her shoulders. I've called both families. In their culture, involving the elders meant the conflict had escalated beyond private resolution. It was now a public, community matter. Kunle's face paled. You didn't have to do that, he protested. No, Mar said, picking up the gold necklace, its weight heavy in her hand. Then tell me, Kunle, what should a woman do when she finds her husband and sister betraying her? When her children are traumatized? When her home is destroyed? She dropped the necklace back onto the table. Keep your gifts, she said softly. They can't buy back what we've lost. Above them, Simi cried again, and Tunde tried to comfort her. The sound of their children's pain was worth more than all the gold in Lagos. It was a testament to the fact that some things, once broken, cannot be simply replaced or mended with superficial gestures. The living room of the Adisa house had never felt so crowded. Elders from both families sat in a semicircle, their faces stern, representing the collective conscience of their community. Uncle Bowden, the oldest, sat at the center, his walking stick planted firmly. "This is an abomination!" Mama Tunda, Kunli's mother, spoke first, her anger directed at Mar. "How could you bring such shame to our family, Kunli?" She mistakenly blamed Mar for the public embarrassment, a common reaction in some patriarchal societies where the woman is held accountable for her husband's transgressions. Kunli sat with his head bowed, while Yej occupied a small stool, eyes fixed on the floor. Perhaps, Auntie Bose, their neighbor, ventured, if Mar had paid more attention to her husband's needs. The sentence hung in the air, a thinly veiled accusation that Mar was somehow responsible for her husband's infidelity. This is a classic example of victim blaming, where the betrayed party is scrutinized for perceived shortcomings that supposedly led to the betrayal. It's a societal pressure that often silences women, forcing them to internalize guilt for something that is not their fault. Mar, however, had found her voice. "So it's my fault that my husband chose to sleep with my sister," she challenged. "Watch your tongue, young woman," Uncle Bowden warned. "This is not the time for such language." "Then when is the time?" Mar stood up, a surge of righteous indignation fueling her. "When should I speak about how they destroyed my home, how they corrupted my children?" The mention of the children brought a heavy silence to the room. Upstairs, Tunde and Simi were playing quietly, their fragile peace a stark contrast to the adult drama. "The children," Uncle Bowden sighed, "this is what concerns me most. Kunle Yej, do you understand what you have done to these innocent ones?" Before either could respond, the door opened. Tundi stood there, his small frame somehow looking older than his 10 years. "I want to speak," he said, his voice trembling but determined. "Tunde, go back upstairs," Kunle started, but Uncle Bowden raised his hand. "Let the boy speak. Come here, my son." Tunde walked into the circle of elders, standing next to his mother. His voice, when it came, was clear, despite his tears. "I saw them," he said. "I saw Daddy and Auntie Yej many times. They made Simi and me keep secrets from Mommy. Auntie Yej said it was a special game, but it made my stomach feel sick." The room went deadly quiet. Even Auntie Bose, who had been quick to blame Mar, looked away in shame. "From the mouths of babes," Uncle Bowden said heavily. He turned to Kunle and Yej. "You have not only betrayed your wife and sister, but you have poisoned the minds of innocent children. This is beyond forgiveness." Mar pulled Tunde close, feeling his small body tremble against hers. For the first time since the nightmare began, she felt vindicated, but the victory tasted bitter. The elders' judgment would come soon, but Mar already knew some broken things could never be fixed. This moment was pivotal, as Tundi's innocent testimony cut through all the adult complexities and justifications, highlighting the undeniable damage to the most vulnerable. It validated Mar's pain and shifted the focus from cultural norms to universal morality. The road to healing is rarely straight and often begins in unexpected places. For Mar and her children, it began in a therapist's office, painted a soothing shade of blue, filled with comfortable chairs and toys. Dr. Ada, a warm, empathetic presence, observed Simi playing with a dollhouse while Tunde sat protectively close to his mother. "It's rare to see families seek therapy in our society," Dr. Ada said softly, acknowledging the cultural stigma. "You're very brave, Mar." Indeed, it took immense courage for Mar to seek professional help, not just for herself, but primarily for her children. Since the family meeting 3 weeks prior, Tunde had become Simi's fierce protector, a heavy burden for a 10-year-old. "I had no choice," Mar replied. "The children need help processing what happened. I need help." "Simi," Dr. Ada called gently, "would you like to tell me about the games you used to play at home?" Simi looked up, her innocent eyes clouding with confusion. Auntie Yej taught us fun games, she said, but Mommy says they're bad games now. They were bad games, Tunde interrupted suddenly, his small fists clenched. Auntie Yej was bad. She pretended to love us, but she hurt Mommy. Dr. Ada nodded thoughtfully. And how do you feel about that, Tunda? Angry, he declared. She was more fun than Mommy. She let us stay up late and told us secrets, but she was lying. She was stealing Daddy from us. Mar felt tears sting her eyes. How had she missed the signs? The late-night stories, the secret games, the way Yej had slowly, insidiously taken over her role in the house. The insidious nature of a manipulator, charming children to turn them against their own mother, is a horrifying aspect of betrayal that often goes unrecognized. Auntie Yej said Mommy worked too much, Simi added innocently. She said Daddy needed someone fun. Dr. Ada leaned forward. And what do you think about that now, Simi? The little girl looked at her mother, then back at her dolls. I think Mommy works hard because she loves us, and Auntie Yej was wrong. Mar couldn't hold back her tears anymore. She reached for Simi, pulling her into a tight hug. Group hug. Doctor, Ada encouraged, and Tundi joined them, his thin arms wrapping around both his mother and sister. You're all showing incredible strength, Dr. Ada said. Healing takes time, but you're already taking the right steps. As they left the office that evening, Mar felt a tiny bit lighter. The betrayal still stung. The wounds were still fresh, but watching her children skip down the hallway, she saw hope. Mommy, Tunde called, holding the car door open for his sister. Can we get ice cream? Ice cream. It was the first time in weeks he'd asked for anything. Yes, Simi clapped. Please, Mommy. Looking at their hopeful faces, Mar realized that healing would come in small moments like these, in ice cream trips and honest conversations, in tears and hugs, in facing the pain together. Yes, she said, we can get ice cream. The children's cheers echoed in the parking lot, a sound of pure joy that had been missing from their lives for too long. This scene emphasizes the profound importance of professional help for children, caught in the crossfire of adult conflict, and how the simplest joys can be powerful indicators of progress in healing. 1 year had passed since the family's world had shattered. Mar sat in her office at school, going through end-of-term reports, a routine that had once felt overwhelming, now a comforting anchor. Her phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. Hello? Is this Mrs. Mariadola? A weak male voice asked. Yes, speaking. This is Amaya, Yej's ex-boyfriend. I need to confess something before I die. Mar's hand tightened around her phone. Amaya. The name brought a rush of memories, a source of tension between her and Yej years ago, when Yej had accused Mar of stealing her job. I'm dying of cancer, Amaya continued, his voice barely a whisper. And I can't go without clearing my conscience. Everything Yej believed about you was a lie I created. The confession poured out like a flood, how he had tried to seduce Mar, but she had rejected him. How he had then lied to Yej, claiming Mar had seduced him instead. How Yej's bitterness and hatred had festered from that moment. The job, too, he added. She never knew the real reason she didn't get it. The manager was corrupt, targeting vulnerable women. You were simply more qualified. Mar sat frozen, pieces of a puzzle finally falling into place. Amaya's confession was a devastating revelation, shedding light on the tragic irony of Yej's prolonged vendetta. Her hatred, her revenge, her calculated destruction of Mar's family, all built on a foundation of lies and misdirection. This wasn't just about Kunli's weakness. It was about Yej's deep-seated, misguided resentment. Why are you telling me this now? Mar asked, grappling with the weight of this truth. Because your sister's hatred was built on lies, my lies, and look what it led to. After the call, Mar made another, to the company's HR department. Within hours, she had confirmation. Yej had never been the intended candidate. The hiring manager had indeed been fired for sexual harassment. That evening, as Mar drove home, her mind raced. All these years, Yej's revenge had been based on false accusations. The destroyed marriage, the traumatized children, the shattered family, all because of lies. The profound sadness of this realization was almost as heavy as the initial betrayal. At home, she found Tunde helping Simi with her homework. They looked up and smiled as she entered. Real smiles now, not the haunted looks they'd worn months ago. "Mommy!" Simi ran to hug her. "I got all my math correct today." "That's wonderful, baby." Mar hugged her daughter tight, breathing in her innocent scent. This is the quiet victory of resilience, the re-emergence of genuine joy, the return to normalcy, however redefined. Later that night, after the children were asleep, Mar sat in her garden. It was the same garden where Kunle and Yej had once shared secret moments, but now it was her space of peace, reclaimed and redefined. Her phone buzzed with a message. It was from Kunle. "I heard about Amaya. Can we talk?" Mar stared at the message for a long time. Then she deleted it. Some truths, no matter how clarifying, come too late to change anything fundamental. The path forward was hers, and hers alone. The aroma of jollof rice and chicken filled the Adaisa house. Mar moved around the kitchen, directing the caterers, preparing for Tunde's 11th birthday party. "Mommy, can I wear my new shirt?" Tunde asked, peeking into the kitchen. "Of course, darling. Is Simi ready?" The past year had transformed their home. Weekly therapy sessions had helped the children process their trauma. Mar had thrown herself into making their house a haven of love and honesty. Kunle had moved to Abuja, sending monthly allowances but maintaining a respectful distance. The children spoke to him on supervised phone calls. It wasn't a perfect reconciliation, nor was it a return to the past, but it was better than living a pretense. It was an acknowledgement of a new reality, built on truth and the well-being of the children. As guests began arriving, Mar watched her children greet their friends. Tunde had grown taller, more confident. Simi's nightmares had stopped. They were healing, not forgetting, but integrating the pain into their strength. "You've done well," Dr. Atta said, arriving with a gift. "Not many women would have handled this with such grace." Mar smiled, remembering the day she'd found Yej's scarf and how far they'd come since then. The party was in full swing when Mar noticed a familiar car pulling up outside. Her heart stopped. It was Yej. But before she could react, Tunde stepped forward, positioning himself between the door and his mother. "We don't want you here," he said firmly as Yej approached. Simi joined her brother, their small hands linked. "This is our happy home now. Please leave." Mar watched, proud tears in her eyes, as her children stood their ground. Yej, after a moment's hesitation, turned and left. "Are you okay, Mommy?" Simi asked, running back to hug her. "Yes, my love." Mar hugged both her children. "I'm more than okay." The party continued, filled with laughter and joy. Looking around at their rebuilt life, Mar knew something profound. Sometimes the greatest strength comes not from holding on to what was, but from having the courage to let go of what was broken and building something new, something authentic, from the ashes of what was lost. The children, once victims of deceit, had become symbols of resilience and boundary setting. Their voices, once silenced by secrets, now spoke for their mother's peace and their own well-being. As the sun set on Tunde's birthday celebration, Mar gathered her children close. They had weathered the storm together and emerged stronger, different but undeniably stronger. "I love you, Mommy," Tunde whispered. "To the moon and back," Simi added. And in that moment, Mar knew this was all the happiness she would ever need. It was a happiness forged in fire, tempered by pain, but utterly real and entirely hers. It's a powerful lesson for all of us. True strength is not about avoiding pain, but about enduring it, learning from it, and choosing to rise again, stronger than before, protecting your peace and your most precious relationships.